Hey Frank, this is Nan. What you doing, and how's it going with the inspector right now?
We need to go in the motor room right now, and I have the MSHA inspector with me, Joan. So I'll have to get back with you in a few minutes. I don't have time right now.
Hey Chris, this is Nan. I was just calling to check in to see how you're doing.
Our inspector wants to take a look at the conveyor area here at the washer. Don't have a lot of time to talk right now, but once we finish up here, I will get in touch with you.
Okay, on this roadway, you notice that the traffic changes from a right-hand to a left-hand pattern. There's no signs here at all. There's no speed sign. We're going to have to close this road until you get that sign up that says that it's a left-hand traffic pattern.
Would you please bring the loader over so we've got the MSHA inspector down here. He'd like to inspect the payload. What he's doing is that looking at his mirrors, his windshield, making sure they're all good, and he's checking his paperwork to make sure it's up to date.
Welcome to another in our Mine Safety video series on supervisor training. It's still early on in our training of our step-up supervisor. A major training opportunity is now surfacing. The step-up supervisor and an experienced supervisor will jointly prepare for an MSHA inspection of the mine and plant. Let's face it, this can be a heck of an assignment for an experienced supervisor, let alone a new one like Nan. Join us now as Nan and David prepare for and work through an inspection. Observe how they use managerial guidance and people skills, effective time management for meeting deadlines, ensure safety records are up to date, job safety analyses, computer skills, while always adhering to work ethics.
An experienced supervisor and trainer, David, will work with our step-up supervisor, Nan, to coordinate the 3 phases of any potential MSHA inspection. David will guide Nan through preparing for an inspection, conducting the inspection, and then the closeout conference with an MSHA inspector.
Our supervisor in training is about to realize that there's a lot more work in preparing for MSHA inspections than going through the actual inspection of the mine.
Our trainer David tells Nan that she's got to call meetings emphasizing the importance of MSHA inspections. She must set up 3 teams. Each team will handle very different specific tasks before, during, and after MSHA inspections. Nan holds such a meeting and gives schedules to 3 team leaders to prepare for unannounced future inspections and deadlines to complete their task ahead of time.
The inspect the checkpoints, make sure the safety rules and the procedures are everybody's doing that. Make sure that the signage is right. Make sure everybody's doing the required PPEs that they need to for their task. Another thing, entryways to their site, the berms, make sure that they're right.
For this team's supervision, she adds traffic pattern and speed limit signage, guarding on all moving equipment, ladders and steps, clearly marked lockout and tagout boards, and very specific confined space and other hazardous work permitting forms and paperwork. Nan forms a second group that will accompany MSHA inspectors during inspections. She tells team leader Chris,
Really need to have people that are people, that have a good personality, going to be polite, going to, be also very knowledgeable though. They need to be able to answer questions for those inspectors if they ask them something, so that they're not out there.
Nan instructs this team of supervisors to provide transportation for inspectors during their visits. She instructs the team to identify where MSHA inspectors want to go and
When you're taking those inspectors out there in the field, take the most direct route. If they don't need to see the drag flying over here and they're wanting to see the boneyard, don't take and clear out and show them everything else. Do the direct route from wherever you're at to wherever they need to go.
For the third group, Nan delegates the responsibility of documents, records, and paper flow.
I would like you guys to make sure that you take care of all of the documentation that we have here on the site. As far as the training, also when you do the documentations, if something comes up post everything in all the different bulletin boards so that everybody is informed. Knowledge is power.
Additionally, Nan puts this group in charge of keeping the mine emergency response plan up to date. Copies of the Accident Prevention Program Safety Program manuals in notebooks or binders. Copies readily available of all MSHA 5000-23 site-specific hazard training certificates. And updating MSDS sheets for all hazardous materials or chemicals used, generated, or transported in and out of the plant or mine. During the year, Nan joins in person the three groups to continue to verify each team's progress and the meeting of deadlines.
There's been a lot of work to get to this point, and now Nan and David will join the team she has assembled to accompany the MSHA inspectors.
On this day, David and Nan have been reviewing team tasks and progress for any potential MSHA inspections.
Nan, how's the paperwork coming on our new inspections for this quarter? You've got everything set and everything's running like it?
Yes, we've got everything. Everybody's done their checks with me, so I know where everybody stands, where everything is supposed to be.
As David and Nan talk adjacent to the training room, they look out the front door, and to their surprise, an MSHA Inspector Clyde is walking up the sidewalk with two more people with him.
That looks like Clyde.
Oh my gosh, is that two inspectors with him too?
I think so.
Let me call some of the help so we can get our teams together.
As David greets the MSHA inspectors and guides them to the training room, Nan hits the phone and calls for help.
Hey Chris, this is Nan in the office. We just had a visit from some MSHA inspectors, and I was just wondering if you could get our teams together so we could get together and start taking them out in the field so they can see what they need to see.
Nan and additional company supervisors joined David for the pre-inspection meeting. David asked for the inspector's AR cards, or Authorized Representative Card. This is the MSHA inspector's ID and the only ID that the team is to accept. David and Nan asked the lead MSHA Inspector Clyde how he'd like to conduct any inspection of the plant and or the mine.
We're going to do an inspection of the entire mine, and because your operation is so large, we're going to bust up into three different groups. So we're going to need transportation, we're going to need somebody to go with us that has the authority to shut down something or to fix something or withdraw people.
David, Nan, and the additional supervisors are wondering about the two additional MSHA inspectors and what areas they'll want to inspect.
Joni is an electrical engineer. She's going to be looking at the electrical installations, any transformer stations, your transformers that are on skids and so forth. Karen is going to look at the mill, and I'm going to be looking at the mine and the roads going down into the mines.
3 MSHA inspectors and company supervisors take 3 different vehicles and depart. En route, David and Step-Up Supervisor Nan watch their MSHA inspector stop a loader operator so that the MSHA inspector can make an inspection of the loader. The inspector looks at the condition of the ladder and steps used to access and egress the machine. Additionally, the inspector checks the mirrors and windshield for cracks or damage. He inspects the brakes and backup alarm. By the cab, the inspector finds a fire extinguisher which has been discharged but has not been replaced. The inspector writes a citation for the discharged fire extinguisher and says it must be replaced within an hour's time. The trainer, David, explains the discharged fire extinguisher.
He said the operator before him had spent the fire extinguisher and forgot to tell him, and he missed it in his inspection this morning.
Okay, well, we still have a citation on it.
Nan notes the condition on her pad and takes a photo of the discharged fire extinguisher. Our trainer, David, tells the loader operator to go to the shop and to get the fire extinguisher replaced immediately. As this group gets back into their vehicle, Nan checks by phone with Frank, another mine supervisor, escorting an additional MSHA inspector, Joan.
Hey Frank, this is Nan. What you doing, and how's it going with the inspector?
We need to go in the motor room right now, and I have the MSHA inspector with me, Joan. So I'll have to get back with you in a few minutes. I don't have time right now, so we'll get with you in just a minute.
Upon entering the room, the MSHA inspector finds the terminals labeled properly with appropriate locks and tags that are attached to any disconnects where there is ongoing inspection, maintenance, or repair of associated equipment. However, the inspector finds a missing knockout or blank inside the terminal door. She writes a citation for the missing knockout, and the mine supervisor notes the information and takes digital photos of the blank. The MSHA inspector tells the supervisor the missing knockout must be replaced within 2 hours. The mine supervisor by phone calls an electrician, and he asks that the electrician secure a knockout and come immediately to replace the missing device in the motor room. Meanwhile, back in her vehicle, Nan by phone contacts another supervisor, Chris, with a third MSHA inspector, Karen.
Hey Chris, this is Nan. I was just calling to check in to see how you're doing. I take it you're with the inspector. Where are you located right now?
Our inspector wants to take a look at the conveyor area here at the washer. Don't have a lot of time to talk right now, but once we finish up here, I will get in touch with you.
The inspector and supervisor exit the vehicle, and the inspector surveys the area. The steps and handrails for access and egress appear to be in good condition, and so do the emergency stop cords for the conveyor. But the inspector goes to the ground-level tail pulley of the moving conveyor and finds part of the tail pulley guard is missing. The MSHA inspector writes a citation, and she tells the mine supervisor she'll give him a 15-minute period for a proper lockout, tagout, and tryout of energy to the conveyor, and a full installation of the missing piece of the tail pulley guard. After digital photos and making notes on the citation, the mine supervisor calls on the phone for a miner to come and lock out, tag out, and try out energy to the conveyor, and then replace the missing piece of the tail pulley guard while the MSHA inspector observes the procedure. Meanwhile, the step-up supervisor and trainer are with the lead MSHA inspector on a mine roadway. Clyde is checking for speed limit signs and traffic pattern signs. He watches haul trucks on the right side of the roadway transporting muck, and he's concerned because they appear to be changing to a left-hand traffic pattern.
You notice that the traffic changes from a right-hand to a left-hand pattern. There's no signs here at all. There's no speed signs. We're going to have to close this road until you get that sign up that says that it's a left-hand traffic pattern.
Again, Clyde writes a citation for the lack of traffic pattern signage and speed limit signage. He says the missing traffic pattern sign represents an imminent danger, which is cause for closing the roadway. He also notes in the citation that the speed limit signs must be installed on the roadway within a 24-hour period. The trainer by phone calls and has a miner in the shop bring and install a traffic pattern sign. The MSHA inspector witnesses the correct signage now in place and says the roadway can be reopened. Nan again writes down the inspector's citation, and she takes photos of the missing signage and then the installed signage. Clyde says he's finished here, but he wants to go to the mine office to inspect the hazard training documents. The inspection yields a problem.
I have looked and looked and looked through these documents, and there's a contractor here by the name of Tool Hands that's working on the pumps. We've got two contractors that I just cannot find the site-specific hazard training for. It's just not here. So until we can prove that they've had this, we're going to have to withdraw them.
Clyde writes a citation for the missing forms not being readily available. The inspector says within the next week the mine staff needs to have a meeting and to get the form filing system in order and make it readily available at all times. Again, Nan notes the citation and the pending staff meeting on her pad. With the mine inspection completed, now comes a closing conference with all of the MSHA inspectors.
It's been a long day. David, Nan, and the inspection teams have covered a lot of ground. However, the closeout conference with the MSHA inspectors must now take place to discuss what citations are going to be issued, what degree of negligence is going to be assessed, and what must be done to abate them.
Nan, David, and other mine supervisors now meet with all of the MSHA inspectors. The lead MSHA inspector conducts the meeting. Nan makes notes and will assist in confirming all corrective actions by the mine owner-operator.
This first citation was issued for a discharged fire extinguisher on one of the loaders. I have personally seen that it's been replaced, and because of that, we've terminated it right on the citation. Okay, the second citation is where there was a blank or a knockout in the electrical motor panel. That's 56-12-032. And Joni, has that been replaced?
Yes, they did, and not only did they fix it within the hour time period, but they followed lockout tagout procedures as well.
Okay, great. Well, then you need to issue a termination for it, but here's your citation. Okay, this third citation that we have was on a tail pulley. It had a guard on it, and at one time they must have had a piece across the top, but it was missing when the inspector came through. Karen, have they taken care of that?
Yes, I did witness the two mine employees correctly locking out and de-energizing the power to the conveyor and correctly reinstalling the tail pulley, and it was done within the 15-minute time period.
Thank you. We'll have to issue a termination on that. Okay, this fourth violation has actually got two parts. It's kind of unusual. We came across some trucks that were changing from a right-hand to a left-hand traffic pattern. There was no signage whatsoever, so we had the road shut down until the signs were put up, and they have been put up. I've modified the order so that they can now go up and down the road, but I'm giving you 24 hours to figure out what speed limits you need there and put them up. Okay, this last citation has to do with training of the contractors, your site-specific hazard training. We had two contractors, employees, and they didn't have any kind of record anywhere. We couldn't find it. They probably had the training, but we couldn't find the records, and we withdrew them until we could find the records.
At this time, an administrative aide walks in with the two forms which had been put in the wrong file and the wrong filing cabinet. After verifying the forms, the inspector tells the mine staff to have a meeting within 24 hours to put their document files in order and to make them readily available. Upon completion of those requirements, the citation will be terminated. Our step-up super Nan reviews her notes with Clyde.
Okay, so at this point, as I understand it, the remaining citations that are required activities are number 1, the roadway sign. We've done the crossover, so all we need to do is just put up the speed limit sign within 24 hours.
That's correct.
And let you know. And then number 2, I just need to confirm the records and how they are filed and maintained in our office.
The lead MSHA inspector verifies the notes are correct, the conference is over, and he and the MSHA inspectors depart.
Thank God that's over.
Well, you know, that's not as bad as some I've been on. You've done a good job. You handled it real well, and you made it through your first inspection with just real minor citations.
Nan and David have been through the full preparation for an inspection, managed an actual inspection, and facilitated the closeout conference. Additionally, they have held a mine team meeting and detailed all corrective actions to be taken within specified deadlines. The MSHA mine inspection has required that the step-up supervisor use a variety of new skills in addition to existing ones. The inspection will become a major part of her future development. We encourage you to work safely, and remember, no job is so important and no task so urgent that we can't take the time to perform our work safely. In other words, if it's not safe, don't do it. Until our next exciting mine safety training video, work safe.
During the making of this video, the operators of various mines have allowed the staging or the recreation of certain conditions which may at first appear to be unsafe and not according to certain federal, state, and/or company safety procedures. These scenes were created strictly to demonstrate the differences between correct and incorrect safety and work procedures in the mining environment. At times, incorrect procedures may have been intentionally left in the video sequences to allow mine safety instructors to ask, "What's wrong with this picture?" The conditions and stage scenes are in no way a true reflection of the condition or the operation of the mine shown in this video production. Finally, this video must be augmented by new MSHA rules and regulations that may be implemented at any time, in addition to changes in your company's safety rules and regulations that may be put into practice. This video training program does not purport to cover all federal, state, and/or your company's safety rules and regulations on the topics covered. For answers to any questions that you may have, consult with your supervisor or your company safety manager at once.